Welcome to Time and Us, where we dive deep into history's greatest stories. Today, we're exploring the rise of an empire that changed the world forever, the Mongol Empire. From humble origins in the harsh steppes of Central Asia, the Mongols would go on to create the largest contiguous empire in history. But how did a small group of nomadic tribes conquer so much of the earth? Let's journey through time and find out. The Mongols hailed from the vast steppes of Central Asia, a land of endless grasslands, extreme winters, and scorching summers. This unforgiving environment shaped the Mongol people's culture, which revolved around nomadic herding, primarily raising horses, cattle, sheep, and goats. They led lives in constant motion, traveling with their herds, and living in portable homes called yurts. The Mongol steppes were not unified. Dozens of tribes vied for dominance over the land. These tribes, such as the Tatars, Karygids, and Merkits, were often in conflict, and loyalty to a tribe was more important than any larger national identity. Mongol tribes were fiercely independent, with leadership determined by merit, strength, and the ability to gather followers. The warriors were skilled on horseback and known for their mastery of the composite bow. However, these tribes were also deeply divided by tribal conflicts, making unity a distant dream. This fragmented tribal structure would set the stage for a transformative leader who would bring them together and change the course of history. Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan, was born around 1162 to Yasuji, the chief of the Borjigin clan. His early life was marked by tragedy. When Temujin was just 9, his father was poisoned by a rival tribe, and his family was abandoned by their people. Left to fend for themselves, Temujin's family struggled in the unforgiving wilderness of the Mongol steppes. This period of hardship was pivotal in shaping Temujin's character. While other children might have grown up with a sense of entitlement, Temujin grew up in survival mode. The sense of betrayal, combined with the harshness of his upbringing, made him resilient and taught him the necessity of alliances and loyalty. In his early teens, Temujin experienced more betrayal when he was captured by the Tatar tribe and held as a slave for several years. During this captivity, he developed a deep hatred for the Tatars and a strong sense of vengeance. Once freed, Temujin made a vow to never be enslaved again, and this desire for independence would be a driving force in his life. In his early 20s, Temujin married Borte, who was kidnapped by the Merkits, an event that set the stage for Temujin's first military campaign. He was able to rally his followers, rescue Borte, and defeat the Merkit tribe, marking the beginning of his rise as a leader. By the time Temujin was in his early 30s, he had begun to establish a reputation as a powerful leader. In 1206, after years of alliances, betrayals, and battles, Temujin was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. However, his rise to power was not a simple journey. The Mongol tribes were divided, and each tribe had its own customs, leadership, and loyalties. Genghis Khan's most impressive feat was his ability to unite these disparate tribes under one banner. This was no easy task. He used both diplomacy and military force to achieve his goal. Genghis Khan introduced the Yasa, a set of laws that emphasized loyalty, discipline, and meritocracy. Unlike many of his predecessors, who ruled based on bloodlines and tribal allegiances, Genghis Khan promoted individuals based on their ability and loyalty, not their heritage. Genghis Khan also created a centralized command structure for his military, organizing his forces into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 soldiers. This allowed him to launch coordinated attacks and react swiftly to changing battlefield conditions. He also embraced religious tolerance and allowed conquered peoples to continue practicing their faiths. This helped to bring stability to the Mongol Empire, as many people from different cultures felt less threatened by Mongol rule. By 1206, Temujin had succeeded in uniting the Mongol tribes and was crowned Genghis Khan, giving him the authority to lead a unified Mongol nation. This was the beginning of a new era in world history. One of the greatest strengths of the Mongol Empire was its military. The Mongol army was a well-oiled machine, and its success on the battlefield was due to a combination of superior tactics, discipline, and technological innovation. Mongol warriors were skilled horsemen from an early age. By the time they were teenagers, they were experts in mounted archery and could shoot arrows accurately while riding at full speed. The Mongol composite bow was a technological marvel of the time. Smaller and more powerful than European bows, it allowed Mongol archers to shoot accurately from long distances. The Mongol military was organized into a strict hierarchy with clear lines of command. Genghis Khan's forces operated with a level of coordination and flexibility that few armies of the time could match. His cavalry units could ride at incredible speeds, while smaller units launched raids that disoriented and overwhelmed their enemies. The Mongols were also adept at siege warfare. They used a variety of siege engines, including trebuchets, large stone-throwing machines, and battering rams, to destroy city walls. They even learned techniques from other cultures, such as the Chinese, who were more advanced in siege technology. Another important feature of the Mongol army was its use of intelligence. Mongol scouts would infiltrate enemy territory, map out the defenses, and provide detailed reports on enemy weaknesses. This allowed Genghis Khan to plan his battles with precision. Perhaps most crucially, Genghis Khan was a master of psychological warfare. He would often employ tactics designed to strike fear into the hearts of his enemies. In some cases, he would destroy an entire city to send a message to others. His enemies often feared the Mongol horde more than they feared death itself. With his innovative tactics, highly disciplined forces, and ability to think several moves ahead, Genghis Khan's military revolutionized warfare, making the Mongols a nearly unstoppable force. In 1218, the Mongols would face a challenge that would trigger one of the most ruthless campaigns in history. The Khwarezmian Empire, located in what is now Iran, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, was an expanding power that had once been an ally of the Mongols. The conflict began when a Mongol caravan was massacred by the Khwarezmian governor of Otrar. Genghis Khan sent 3 ambassadors to the Khwarezmian Shah, Ala ad-Din Muhammad, to negotiate a peaceful resolution. However, one of the ambassadors was executed, and the others were treated with dishonor. This was an unforgivable insult in Mongol culture. Furious, Genghis Khan launched a full-scale invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire. The Mongols swept through the empire, employing devastating tactics. Cities like Bokhara, Samarkand, and Herat fell to the Mongol siege machines. Entire populations were slaughtered, and survivors were taken into slavery or executed. The Mongols inflicted such devastating losses that the Khwarezmian Empire effectively collapsed. Genghis Khan's wrath against the Khwarezmian Empire would be remembered as one of the most brutal and complete destructions of a civilization in history. While Genghis Khan's forces were sweeping westward, he also set his sights on the eastern powerhouse of China, then divided between the Jin dynasty in the north and the Song dynasty in the south. The Jin dynasty, located in northern China, was a long-standing enemy of the Mongols. After a series of conflicts and raids in the early 1200s, Genghis Khan launched a full invasion of the Jin, eventually capturing their capital, Yanjing, modern-day Beijing, in 1215. While Genghis Khan's forces dealt with the Jin in the north, his generals, including Subutai and Jebe, launched raids against the Song dynasty in the south, dealing devastating blows. Under Genghis Khan's leadership, the Mongols quickly expanded their presence in China. But it was Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, who would later complete the conquest and found the Yuan dynasty, marking the first time China was ruled by a non-Han Chinese dynasty. While the Mongols were conquering in the east, they also pushed into Eastern Europe in the early 1240s under Bata Khan and Subutai, 2 of Genghis Khan's most capable generals. In 1237, Batu Khan's forces invaded the Kievan Rus, a loose confederation of Slavic states. The Mongols sacked the great city of Kiev in 1240, crushing the Rus forces and spreading fear throughout Eastern Europe. The Mongols then turned their attention to Poland and Hungary, winning several decisive battles. The Mongols marched into the heart of Europe, devastating everything in their path. However, despite their success, the Mongol advance was halted by the death of Ogedai Khan, Genghis Khan's son and successor, forcing Batu to return to Mongolia to participate in the election of the next great Khan. This marked the end of Mongol expansion into Europe. After Genghis Khan's death in 1227, his descendants continued his legacy. The empire was divided among his sons and grandsons, each inheriting large swaths of land. But it was Kublai Khan who would bring the Mongol Empire to its greatest heights. Kublai Khan ruled over the Yuan dynasty in China, bringing China under Mongol rule and continuing the work his grandfather had begun. Under Kublai's reign, the Mongol Empire reached its peak, with vibrant trade routes connecting east and west. The Silk Road was revitalized under Mongol protection, facilitating the exchange of goods, culture, and ideas between the East and the West. This led to an era of increased cultural exchange, including the famous travels of Marco Polo, who spent time at Kublai's court. Kublai Khan's reign also saw advances in science, medicine, and engineering, as Mongol rule brought new technologies and ideas to China. However, despite its prosperity, the Mongol Empire began to face challenges, both internal and external, that would eventually lead to its decline. After reaching its peak, the Mongol Empire began to unravel in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. The vastness of the empire, combined with internal struggles for power, led to its fragmentation. The empire split into several independent khanates: the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Golden Horde in Russia, and the Yuan dynasty in China. These khanates often fought with each other, and many Mongol rulers were more concerned with their own power struggles than maintaining the unity of the empire. The rise of the Black Death in the 14th century also played a major role in the empire's decline. The plague devastated much of the Mongol world, killing millions and further weakening the empire's infrastructure. By the mid-14th century, the Mongol Empire had fractured into smaller, warring states. The Yuan dynasty was overthrown by the Ming dynasty in China, and the Golden Horde began to disintegrate. However, the Ilkhanate in Persia lasted a little longer before it too collapsed. The Mongol Empire, despite its rapid rise and eventual fragmentation, left an indelible mark on world history. It connected East and West in ways never seen before, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and even the spread of technologies that would shape the modern world. Though the Mongol Empire has long since fallen, the impact of Genghis Khan and his descendants still echoes today. Their legacy reminds us that even in the harshest conditions, the human spirit's ambition can create empires that change the course of history. Join us next time on Time and Us as we continue our journey through the fascinating stories of history. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the past.